Hi, today what we're going to do is make some filling for samosas or samosadas, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to make a meat filling today, so I'm going to use lamb meat. One thing I will sort of say to you is make sure you have a good butcher. Get to know the butcher, whether it's at your local grocery store, market, or wherever you shop. That way you can sort of talk about the cuts of meat and what you're going to make or any of those other things. So today I have about a pound of grass-fed lamb. Now this, I'm just looking at the meat, there's hardly any fat in it. So I'm going to saute this, but to help this along, first of all, what I'm going to do is add a bit of olive oil, I think, because I don't want it to really stick to the pan. So we're going to add maybe about a tablespoon of olive oil, just a little bit, because some of the fat will come from the meat. But what I like to do is sort of break it in so there's not just one big chunk in there. Oops, that fell in. And sort of just take the bag and sort of break it in like so. Okay, we'll put that aside. And then what you're going to do is just brown it very lightly, because it is going to cook a little bit later on once we've added the onions and other ingredients. And you especially want to do this if your meat is quite fatty. Now you can make this filling with any type of meat that you want. You can certainly make it with chicken, beef, a combination of maybe pork and beef, or any of those things. I've always made this with lamb. I enjoy lamb, especially Ontario lamb. It has a less gamey taste than, let's say, Australian or New Zealand lamb. But it's really up to the taste that really works for you. So I'm just going to wait for this to sort of stir it until it browns up. Keep on sort of breaking it up, because you don't want big chunks of the meat as it's done. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so it's been about 4 minutes. I'm going to turn this off, and as you can see, there's hardly any fat in here at all. So just sort of scrape it aside. And what we're going to do is just empty it out into this plate over here, along with the juices. Just very carefully. You don't have to be super sort of scraping the pan here, because what we're going to do is just going to put the onions back in here. I'm just going to wipe this pan down so it doesn't burn anything on the side. Okay, let's just fold that up. Okay, now we're going to turn that back on, and what we're going to do is add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and we're going to use that to saute onions. So I've got let's say half a cup of onions, chopped finely as you can. Just get these to become a little soft. And remember, the magic here is what we like to do is add a bit of salt, so we can get these to sort of cook a little faster and extract their water a little bit. So I'm going to add salt to that. Now, given I'm going to add vegetables, and I've got a pound of mince here, I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of kosher salt. And you may say that sounds like a lot. Once again, it's to your desired taste. Let's just add that. And now what I'm also going to do is add a couple of bay leaves And my famous curry leaves, because you know I can't cook without them. I'm still waiting for my sister to grab, you know, my sister grows curry leaves in the house. It's a great house plant. And to have those always available is pretty awesome. So she's getting a pot ready for me. And then to this, we're going to also add, 1 cup of diced potato. And I also, depending on what I'm doing, on how I'm doing this, either it's diced or it is shredded into here. So let's just add that. There's a bit of water in here to stop those potatoes to have gone brown after I dice them. Don't worry about that. All right, and that should cook down, no problem. Oops. Okay. Now to this mixture, I'm going to add 1 clove of minced garlic, or a teaspoon of minced garlic, a tablespoon of minced ginger, and a teaspoon of green chilies. Now you can slice them in. I had these frozen and minced up, so I'm going to use that. Or you can just slice up a fresh chili. If you don't want to use the green stuff, or you don't have the green stuff at home, then simply use chili flakes or some other sort of heat element that you may have. So I'm just going to saute that. I'm going to runaway potato. Let's stick that in there. Okay, and then we're going to add, for color, we're going to add some peas and carrots in there. So 1/2 cup of peas and carrots, and 1/4 cup of corn. Now, if you don't like any of these things and you don't want to add them, feel free to not add them. I just kind of like the flavors of all of these things, so it's not just the meat that I'm tasting when I bite into my samosa. There's a bit more flavor or texture element to that. Got some cilantro here, 2 tablespoons. I'm going to hold that for the time being. And what I'm going to do now is add my powdered spices. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and let's say 3 teaspoons of cumin and coriander mixture. And then I'm going to add, normally when I would cook a meat dish, I would add my other aromatics such as cinnamon, clove, cardamom. Instead, because I don't want people to sort of have that in the bite of the samosa, what I'm going to do is just add garam masala. So I'm going to add, let's say, 2 heaping teaspoons of that. You don't need to add any chili powder because I've got enough heat coming from the 1 single green chili, and you can really smell the garam masala, and that's a good sort of flavoring agent that you'll want to taste in the samosa. I'm going to turn this down a little bit, and I'm going to add back my meat. Just put that there. Now give all of this a good mix. Make sure all of that is blended in there. And remember, your mince was pretty much, 3/4 cooked already, because it's so fine, it doesn't take too long. And you're just going to let all of that sort of blend in there. And this is where now I'm going to add my cilantro. Add that in there. Oops. And you're really only cooking this now until those sort of little cubes of potato are cooked. So just give that a bit of a stir, and I'll be back when the potato is cooked. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, and to help the potatoes cook along, I actually covered the pan with a lid and take some of that sort of nice sort of steam, and that will add a little bit of moisture to the pan as well. Let me just test the potato here. Yep, and that breaks apart quite nicely. Okay, so what you're now going to have to do is let this mixture cool completely before you fill it in the samosa pocket. But as I always sort of say to you, make sure you taste it first. Make sure it's spiced appropriately. That's good. It's not at all sort of course there's lots of spice, but the heat is at a very good moderate level. It's coming from, yes, a little bit of the green chili, but mostly the flavor is coming from the garam masala, and that's what you want. So we'll be back on another episode once we roll out and create the pastry for the samosa.